I just need to get a thumbs up from the booth. We good? Okay. And I turned my mic on, that's helpful. I'd like to call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order for September 9th at 6:01 p.m. And we're going to start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a few announcements tonight. This meeting is being recorded by the local scene. Anyone intending to make an audio or video recording of this meeting should notify the chair at this time. And seeing nobody. Financial assistance applications are available on the town's website or by calling the Selectmen's office. And we say this every week. For anyone interested in volunteering, we have several vacancies on various committees and boards. To see a complete list of the openings, please visit our website at kingstonma.gov. And I'd like to point out our finance committee is getting very low on members. We definitely need some folks who would be interested in helping out. It's okay if you're not an expert at finance. It helps if you have a background. But you certainly don't have to be an expert. You have to be willing to come and listen, have an open mind, deliberate, have some common sense, listen to people, listen to other people who have that knowledge, but just be willing to help out. So, and if anybody has any questions, please reach out to us, the Board of Selectmen, or any of the members of the Finance Committee. We would be able to get you some additional information. But we've got lots of vacancies on various committees and boards. And we will be exploring doing, like later on down the road, maybe in the fall, doing like a volunteer fair, kind of similar to a job fair maybe, where we could have residents come in and talk to members of different boards to find out what we do, and assure you that it's not as overwhelming as it may seem. Again, you don't have to be an expert. All right, so please check our website for any additional events or notices at kingstonma.gov. We do have a tri-board meeting with the Board of Selectmen, Kingston School Committee, and the Kingston Finance Committee on Thursday, September 18th at 5:30 in room 200. And then we have our fall town meeting on Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. And also due to a recent resignation from the Kingston School Committee, the Kingston School Committee and the Board of Selectmen are seeking candidates interested in filling the open seat until the next town election in the spring of 2026. So interested candidates must submit a letter of consideration and qualifications no later than September 25th at 4 p.m. Please submit your information by mail to the Town of Kingston, Board of Selectmen, 26 Evergreen Street, Kingston, MA 02364, or by email to ptucker@kingstonma.gov. All candidates will be interviewed at a joint Kingston School Committee Board of Selectmen meeting on Tuesday, October 7th at 6:30 p.m. I have a couple more announcements. The Kingston Fire Department is inviting everybody to a 9/11 remembrance ceremony this Thursday, September 11th at 8:30 a.m. at the KFD headquarters at 105 Pembroke Street. Please join us in remembering those who lost their lives on September 11th, 2001, and those who served in the highest tradition of public safety. Remember and honor. Lastly, the town of Kingston is working towards achieving an age and dementia-friendly town designation, a nationwide initiative set forth by AARP aimed at creating a welcoming and more livable community for residents of all ages. We have a survey. That survey is now available to the public. They're asking for participation in helping to identify the needs of the community. The survey takes about 10 minutes to complete and is available in hard copy and electronically. Please visit the town's website, again, kingstonma.gov, and click on the Council on Aging tab under Our Community. And then there's a Livable Kingston link on the left side, and that's where you'll see a link to the survey. It's also on the homepage under the community spotlights. You'll see a sort of a permanent link on the left-hand side for Livable Kingston and the link to the survey. That was a lot. Anybody else have any announcements? Anything I forgot?
They were talking about that survey, I believe, at the COA meeting earlier today, and they were saying they've gotten a lot of responses, so it's great. Hopefully, they'll get more.
Hopefully. Anything else from anyone? Okay. All right, moving on, open forum. Is anybody here to speak at open forum? Thanks, Susan.
Good evening. Am I on? I guess so. Susan Sherman. I've had the pleasure of living at 215 Main Street for 40-plus years, a home which was built 221 years ago. Let's think about that for a second. Jefferson was in his first term as president. That's when Main Street was nothing more than a cart path. Many homes and churches in this half-mile stretch are of the same era. It's arguably the heaviest traveled road the town of Kingston is responsible for. Couple that with 5 churches and several other businesses and a lot of walking traffic. This is a large part of Kingston's history, and I personally hope the character will always be preserved. I wish to thank Sean Turner, Interim Highway Superintendent, Adam Duchette, Highway Foreman, and our town planner, Valerie Massad, all of whom, with others, identified the much-needed sidewalk repair. This temporary repair, along with the involvement of the engineers, I believe we will be on our way to applying for a grant to redo the entire roadway this spring. Thank you, Sean, so much from the bottom of my heart, and your department, who has done a lot of hard work and a professional job. And there are several residents here, several who couldn't make it, but we really want to acknowledge you. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, moving up, we're going to take one item out of order, and that is,
Yeah, no, I think they're just hoping we would take them first.
yeah. So this is number 5, the notice of owner's intent to sell town's rights of first refusal, Elm Street, map 63, lot 9. So the property on Elm Street is currently,
Are we correct in assuming you wanted to speak about this item not at open forum, correct?
I would like to speak.
Yes.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah,
in.
I
open-
just wanted to make
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
because they were moving, I just wanted to ensure that they weren't trying to speak at open forum.
Got
That's
it.
all.
So the property at Elm Street is currently in Chapter 61A, which offers a discount on the property taxes in exchange for the town having the right of first refusal when the property is taken out of Chapter 61A. The property owner is seeking to remove the property from Chapter 61A to sell the property. The Kingston Conservation Commission is not interested in the property. However, the property abuts the Wildlands Trust land, and they are interested in acquiring the property and is requesting that the Kingston Board of Selectmen transfer their authority to acquire the parcel to them. Council has been consulted and affirmed the Wildland Trust request is allowed. So Keith, is there anything to add before we ask them to speak?
I don't think there is. The attorney for the Wildlands Trust is here, if you have any questions for him. I met with the Wildlands Trust along with Conservation Agent Matt Pinella. As you mentioned in your comments, Attorney Tallerman has reviewed the documents that you have in your board packet, finds them to be in order, and it's allowed simply to have the Board of Selectmen transfer the town's rights to, in this case, the Wildlands Trust. So with that, if you...
Can I ask a question first?
You have to ask him.
My name's Ronald.
Just need you at the microphone.
Just because of the word allowed.
It's merely because, for the record, if you were at your seat.
Can
we
you
would
hear
pick
me?
you up.
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Ronald Marabet. I'm the co-owner of the property on Elm Street in question and the land across the street and across Sylvia Place. I just want to question the word allowed for the sake of this discussion and consideration. It is not required that you do that. It is a choice that you will be making. Okay. So that's, just want to get that out there publicly. I may speak to this later. Will I be able to do that if I feel so? Or my daughter Dominique is here, and my wife Connie Maribet. Thank you.
Sure, yeah, thank you. Keith, was there anything else? I think you said no.
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, all right, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Clerk, members of the Board of Selectmen. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Attorney John McCluskey. My office address is 932 Main Street in Brockton. And I submitted to you, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, a request for you to waive the right of first refusal to purchase property known as Assessor's Parcel 63-19 on Elm Street in Kingston. And that's been under 61A for several years, and is part of a larger parcel that is also across the street and subject to 61A. For a variety of reasons, the Maribets have decided to place this property on the market and have had it on the market for quite some time. Adjacent to the property is property owned by the Wildlands Trust. And we recently received a letter from indirectly from the town that was authored by the Wildlands Trust, seeking to purchase the property and have the town exercise its right of first refusal and assign the right to the Wildlands Trust. That letter was dated September 4, 2005, and we're all quite troubled by that letter. First of all, the letter outlines the fact that this property is adjacent to 27 acres owned by the Wildlands Trust that is in hazardous and poor condition. That's an earthen dam that's on the Wildlands Trust property. And they cite that residents could be dangerously impacted. And they need to resolve what's going on with that dam to preserve the property and perhaps protect the residents. This has been going on, I think, at least for 10 years. And in that letter, they say, basically, we don't have any money to do that. So now, along comes the Maribets, and they say, well, we want to buy your property. We want to have the town exercise its rights to first refusal and assign those rights to us. But I don't think they have any money to buy the property. At least by history, and not repairing their own property, not maintaining their own property, it's a non-starter. Now, the Wildlands Trust has an obligation to enter into a purchase and sale agreement. They wrote the letter on September 4. Here it is 5 days later, we've never heard from them. I had to call them yesterday and was told that their lawyer would reach out to me. Have not heard from the lawyer and haven't seen a purchase and sale agreement. That purchase and sale agreement by statute is required, and we have to enter into an arm's length transaction. Quite frankly, we're very leery about entering into an arm's length transaction with an outfit that doesn't have any money, and that they have to complete the transaction within 90 days. So the other thing is that in the letter of the Wildlands Trust, it looks like they want to use the property as a parking lot. Well, Mass General Law, Chapter 61A, says that you have to use at least 70% of it for agricultural, recreational purposes under 61A. If they're turning it into a parking lot, that doesn't sound like it's going to fulfill the requirements of 61A. We have a purchase and sale agreement with the DeBonas to purchase this property, and we're basically ready to go. The Maribet family has agreed to finance the property because that's financially in their best interest to do that, and they'll take back paper and payments over a period of time. We're certainly not going to do that with the Wildlands Trust if they say they don't have any money to pay for the property. So we're not going to enter into the same type of agreement with them. So basically, we're asking you, we've done a lot of due diligence on this property. One other item which is important. The letter of the Wildlands Trust, in my opinion, slanders the marketability of the Maribet property. They're telling you without any substance, without any facts, that this property, the Maribet property, is unbuildable. Well, in fact, in the record and on the agenda tonight is a determination by the building department that it in fact is buildable. So for now, for the Wildlands Trust to come along and publicly slander the marketability of the Maribet property, we're quite disturbed about that. So for all of these reasons, we would ask that the town of Kingston does not exercise its right of first refusal and allows us to go forward with the purchase and sale agreement with the DeBonas as planned. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions at this point? All right, and did you say, we do have the attorney here from, okay.
That would be great.
We may ask questions afterwards, but.
So unfortunately, the microphones are only for the recording. It doesn't actually project into the room. So if anyone
I'll
needs us
speak
to
loudly,
speak
though.
up, just
Yeah.
let us know.
Go ahead and just state your name.
Yes, good evening. Dennis Murphy, and I'm the attorney for Wildlands Trust. I've done this sort of thing for them for a number of years. We've had chapter properties in Middleborough. We saved a 200-acre farm, the Peconi Farm, a couple of years ago. I just did one in Plymouth, a similar-sized parcel of land that's a golf course that will remain a golf course, at least for now. So I'm a little familiar with this, having done it several times for wildlands and other conservation groups. And I wanted to just mention a few things in response to Attorney McCluskey. So one of them is the kind of legal procedural process. The way Chapter 61A works is that if the board does not want the property for the town, then you don't exercise your right of first refusal. You could, in your judgment, based on Wildlands requests, assign that right of first refusal, and I've prepared a document to that effect. The process requires that I record that document. That assignment is an interest in land, and it has to be recorded. Once it's recorded, the clock starts on when Wildlands steps into the shoes of buyer under the PNS. And then we have that period of time, 90 days, as Attorney McCluskey referenced, to tender a conforming PNS. And so we're not late in the process. This is step one. And the first step for the board is to determine whether the town itself wants the property. And we don't want to step in front of the town. If the town wants it, then so be it. If the town doesn't, Wildlands does, and I think for valid reasons. So one is the chapter land purpose. We have no intention of developing the property. Any parking lot is going to be less than 30% of the area of the parcel that is allowed under Chapter 61A. And it will be subject to a permanent conservation restriction in perpetuity. So that's the way the statute works. This was adopted 50 years ago in the 70s as a way to try to protect land. I think you all probably know, you've dealt with 61A before. The benefit is you pay less tax, and on the back end, you have the right of first refusal to buy a parcel of land that's in chapter when it comes up for sale. And I don't know if the board has experience in assigning these. Because I represent conservation groups, that's the only way we acquire land through chapter, is it first has to be assigned. And just to be really clear, The way to assign it is to assign the right of first refusal before you exercise it. And then I record that notice of assignment. And then separately, Wildlands Trust will record a different document once the board votes, not this board, once my board, Wildlands Trust Board, votes to acquire the property, we'll record a notice of exercise ourselves. So it's a two-step process. We're right here at step one. And the first thing is, does the town want the land? And if they don't, Wildlands would very much appreciate having it. We have the use for it. We will keep it consistent with Chapter 61A as required under the statute. And it will be preserved with a conservation restriction on at least 70% of it in perpetuity in its natural state. So happy to answer questions.
Any questions? Go ahead,
Just,
Jim.
just to clarify for people who aren't familiar with the 61A first right of refusal process, whether the town exercises the first right of refusal or if we passed it to Wildlands Trust and Wildlands Trust did, they still have to pay the full market value of the property, correct?
Yes, so the purchase and sale, which I have a copy of, I think the purchase price for this parcel is $250,000. And I know there was a question about, the ability to pay. I can tell you, Wildlands Trust has a portfolio of properties worth many tens of millions of dollars. My Middleborough transaction was $6.2 million. I was $750 short going into closing, and an angel donor showed up and made it up overnight. So we absolutely, positively have the money. I don't have it in the trunk of my car, but $250, yeah, I think we're good for that.
So you match the purchase and sale is what you're saying?
We follow the statute, so, just like you as a buyer, if the town were to proceed, would have your own appraisal and do your own due diligence, we will do the same thing. And if that is the term in the statute is bona fide offer, if that is determined to be by the appraisal and the experts, a bona fide offer, then sure, that's what the law requires and that's what we would do. And that's just what we've done in the other properties where Wildlands Trust has been assigned a right of first refusal and gone on to purchase and save those farms and different properties.
And if you could remind us of the timeline associated with the process?
Yeah, it's a little complicated. For my students, I actually have a little checklist. I teach at Tufts. I didn't bring my checklist, so I'm doing it from memory.
I've got the statute in front of me. If that
Okay,
helps.
so 61A, Section 14. Within 30 days, you have to give notice of any deficiency. And then once you have a non-deficient notice, you have to convene a public hearing. And within 120 days, you have to either exercise or not that right of first refusal, or in this case, assign it. If you assign it, then the assignee, which in this case would be Wildlands Trust, has 90 days to close on a transaction by the statute. So that's basically the time frame. And I think this notice was just a month ago in August, so we're really in early days here. My hope is that this is not like a 200-acre farm with multiple encroachments that needed to be solved. That was recorded land, which is much harder to fix encroachments. So my hope is that this could be streamlined and done very quickly. And the good news is if you do assign the right of first refusal, you can wash your hands of it. The town's out and Wildlands will take it from there.
Well, we still have concerns about the folks, obviously, that are living there now and wanting to sell their land. So just keeping that in your mind too. We're also thinking about them as well and the impact on them and not wanting to, drag our feet or make the process long. So
Oh, of
that's
course.
Part of the reason I'm asking about the timeline is I understand when someone has a sale on the table, they'd like to move things along. So I just wanted to be clear about the
Yeah,
timing.
and there's no delay intended. In Middleborough, the owner actually wanted to stay, so we arranged for that. We are not, we own property, we don't have any intention of building, and I'm happy to work with the owners and their council to make this a very smooth and easy transaction.
Any other questions?
I just had a question about the fish ladders and the dam that you spoke about. I know that that fish ladder is on your property currently, but there is another section of it that is behind your property. Would that be a problem?
Oh,
for
you're
future
asking a lawyer a
buyers?
fish ladder question? I've been there, I know exactly what you're
You know what I'm
talking about.
It's
I-
been a long time since I've been back there, but there's two
Yeah.
sets. There's one up top and then there's one at the bottom.
Yes, so
Can
you're
I
talking
interrupt for
about,
just 1 second?
yeah.
Matt, can you shed any
Our
light on this?
conservation agent is here and maybe knows a bit about the fish ladders.
I'm curious because if
Maybe.
the dam is a problem, then it's gonna be
Oh,
a
no.
problem
You might know something.
for that property.
So, my knowledge is more based on the Sylvia Pond Dam
Yeah.
issue. I'm not sure the ones that are, I know there's like a sluiceway that goes through there that goes, behind the Maribet property into Souls Pond. What I know from Wildlands Trust is that they're working on removing the dam. It is considered a high hazard dam. They did get a demand letter to have that removed, and they are fundraising that. We've actually applied for some grants with them, to do similar work. There was some sort of an access issue there where this particular property was the main way to access during construction, but also for long-term management of the sluiceway or like the fishway after construction is done. I can't speak to whether there will be any issue with those concrete lined sluiceways going through there. Only that I think Wildlands Trust having that obviously would be more helpful towards getting, restorative connectivity back there. And it wasn't mentioned earlier, but the Conservation Commission did vote in support of the board transferring their right. Any more questions for me?
No, thank you.
Thanks.
I have some information on that.
Sure, go ahead.
I'd like to comment as well. Can I comment?
Go ahead. I mean, I was involved with that this time.
I don't come across these things every day, so I have to read the statute. And what I see in the statute, if we have a bona fide offer, which I've certified to you, and you agree to exercise your rights under the right of first refusal, you have to pay what we have for an offer. Mr. Murphy said sort of what they then would do would go out and get an appraisal. That's not what the statute says. The statute only says that they have the right to do that in the case of an intended conversion not involving a sale. At that point, they have, whoever exercised the rights or had the right of first refusal would have the right to go out and do an appraisal. But I believe what Mr. Murphy told you is not correct. They don't have the right to go out. We have a bona fide purchase and sale agreement. We've submitted it to you. It's for $250,000. If they want to buy the property, they got to buy it for $250,000, cash money. He may not have it in the trunk of his car, and he might not have an angel waiting in the wings. We don't know that. So what I'm telling you again, it goes further and further to support my belief that what's going on here is that they're going to try to, they've slandered the marketability of this property. And they're telling you that we don't think it's a buildable lot, and therefore we don't think that it's worth $250,000. That's not what the statute says. We have a family that wants to buy this property for $250,000. We have a certified purchase and sale agreement. That's the price. He doesn't have the right to go in and undermine that.
Go ahead.
I want to address Selectman Bateman's inquiries about the fish ladder. In 1987, the Jones River Watershed Association was established in the town of Kingston. We signed our purchase and sale agreement to buy what is now the Maribet Farm in 1985. I began to serve the community, among other ways, as a chairman and a president of the Jones River Watershed Association, which established in its mission statement to restore fishways, among other things. So I have a 35-year history of working on those fish ladders. I also have, since 1985, an experience of working that farm as an organic farm because we knew, and I see Mr. Koska's here, we knew that the abutting property across the street was the town's wells. So we chose to manage that in the most difficult way possible, organically, from then until now. We have never put in, as a public service, we have never put any toxic material on that property. We have been doing in the marketplace conservation and preservation and sustainable behaviors. At the difficulty of being a farmer, the other thing that wasn't mentioned, and then I'll get right to the fish ladder thing specifically, is that 61A was established not just to set up a relationship with the Board of Selectmen and the farmers. It was to allow food production in the town for its citizens and give the farmers a little help. It was what big agriculture calls a subsidy. We got a tax break so we could sell millions of organic blueberries to the people of Kingston and around. And we did. We performed on that over these years, okay? For the fish ladders, all along the way, there were a number of initiatives. The Wildlands Trust participated in some, the Jones River Watershed Association participated in others. And I will tell you that when we purchased that property, we were deeded the right to practice hydrological energy production in that stream contiguous to this parcel. We never exercised it. We never intended to. We didn't think it was a sustainable practice, that it would inhibit our goal to reestablish the fishway. So, but we had the right to do it. Just because you have the right to do something doesn't mean you have to exercise it. You have the right to not do it. And finally, under the culvert on that parcel where that little fish ladder I just referred to is another fish run that goes down to a culvert onto Elm Street, which was the result of the Sacred Heart Schools lobbying for the construction of Elm Street so that they wouldn't have to drive around on Sylvia Place Road or Indian Pond Road to get down there from Boston. So they filled that pond and cut it in half. The state of Massachusetts, but this was 1933. This was, that was the way it was then, right? So that little fishway is bordered on both sides by two other parcels, by one other parcel that the Maribet Farm owns. So to directly tell you about, if you're referring to the one above Sylvia Place Road, that's what I know about that, and that we've written letters in support of and done lots of work to assist public, state agencies, foundations to reestablish the fish runs up there. And on the other side of the culvert, we've practiced organic agriculture to preserve that fish supply any way we could. Okay? So, so since I'm here, I'll just say the last thing that's important to me. Consider your vote here. I was on the Board of Selectmen. I know where you're sitting. They're all hard. They're all difficult, competing interests, right? And when you made the pitch for all the different agencies that are looking for help, I bet I served on half of them over my time here. So I know what's at stake here, and I know how the process works. But you might want to consider that there's an aging population in the town of Kingston right now, clutching onto their pieces of property that they've gone to work every day to pay the mortgage on and pay the taxes on for years and years and years. And these are the property rights guaranteed under federal and state statute, constitutional law that are at stake here. Our right to use our property freely. It's constitutionally guaranteed. And it's all right to do that, and I want you to consider the message that you will be sending to seniors who are coming along to where we are in life, and they have this property, and they may want to subdivide it and get something to help them with whatever they need help with, or for their estate or whatever. Okay? What is the message you are sending to them? And finally, what is the message you're sending to young people who can't possibly find a piece of housing because of the housing shortage? We had an engineering firm, a highly reputable Grady Engineering, engineer this lot to downsize that house on a small footprint. We conformed with the environmental sensitive area requirements, and we went through the process. I spent some thousands of dollars. We did, of our family treasure, to get this to the state and to see it in writing in a public document that it is an unbuildable lot. After that effort and expenditure, it's quite offensive. I mean, I've tried to play by the rules. We try to play by the rules. But to come in and use that to denigrate the efforts and the work and the sacrifices of my family, I'm offended. So anyway, thank you very much for hearing me, for asking the question. I appreciate what you're up against.
Thank you. Any other,
Could I just respond?
sure.
So I'll read directly from the statute, Chapter 61A, Section 14. During the 120-day period, the city or town or its assignees shall have the right at reasonable times and upon reasonable notice to enter upon the land for the purpose of surveying and inspecting said land, including but not limited to soil testing for purposes of Title V and the taking of water samples. So the statute explicitly gives us the rights to do due diligence, just as the town would have. I mean, I read it word for word. I have no intention of trying to nickel and dime or bargain, and certainly wouldn't do it in a public hearing, but I also don't want to say unequivocally the price is the price. If the surveyor goes out and finds an encroachment, or they find hazardous waste, or who knows what, there was no intention to denigrate. The letter that my client submitted is from the executive director of a nonprofit. She's not a zoning attorney like me. It's a half-acre lot, so in her eyes, it's not buildable. And I don't think there was any harm intended to suggest that in the letter, notwithstanding that the building commissioner has reached a different decision under some pretty arcane rules that a layperson wouldn't necessarily know. So that's all. Thank you.
Did you have something else to add? Okay, go ahead, and then we'll wrap it up.
I don't disagree with the right to enter the property, take measurements, see what's there, but that doesn't say anything about changing the price. End of story.
All right, any questions? So, and just to be clear, and Keith, correct me if I'm wrong, but once we assign it, if we assign it, once we assign it, the town is out of this. Then it's between Wildlands Trust and then the owners. So any price issues, I mean, I'm assuming that if you came back and said it's worth 200, they're insisting it's 250, then what happens? Do you bow out? I mean, they would still have to accept the offer, but how does that work? So does that go to a land court?
There's a statutory process that if there's a disagreement, appraisers, you get a third appraiser. That may only be in the case of a conversion. I've never had it happen, and I don't foresee that happening. People squabble over the purchase of land all the time. That's not the business we're in. We're successful in holding land in 50 different municipalities in the southeast of Massachusetts because we have a good group of donors, and we're able to access grant money so that we can acquire land for public use and preservation. So this is a relatively small transaction, and I really don't foresee any issue over the price.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
No, I think, Matt, did you say conservation supported the transfer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
They did.
All right, so if there's no questions, does anybody want to make a motion?
Well, I actually have a question.
I hate to ask you to go back up there again. Sorry. Where?
It's all right. Sometimes they do.
We started getting the approval for this lot a year and a half ago. It was ruled as a buildable lot on January 7th of 2025, after engineering, where they did the soil surveys and all of this stuff. And I have a well on the property which tested the water, and I've tested over the years, so they can go in and do whatever they want, but the net effect of that will be delay, delay, delay. And time is an issue. And so, is your motion, whatever motion you make, I believe there is a condition or the lack of opposition to the notion that you can put a performance bond or something on them, that if they don't perform in the time frame, you can get it back and then sign it off. Or we can be guaranteed the total amount of money somehow. Is there any way for you to rewrite that motion to protect us in the interest of time?
I'm
'Cause
not a
they could
lawyer,
go
but
on
I
and
don't
on with
see it.
appraisals.
I don't see it in the statute. I mean, essentially, what's before us this evening is, do we want to exercise our right of first refusal? If not, do we want to just say, we're waiving it? Or do we want to say, we're waiving it and giving it to the Wildlands Trust? That's really the question. That's really the only thing that I can see. I mean, I don't think our town council's on there.
You can't put a condition on it.
I don't believe so. Based on what I'm reading here, Matt's raising his hand, though.
Go ahead, Matt.
You should probably sit closer.
I want to sit next to Sean. No. Maybe a lawyer can clarify for me, but my understanding of it is there's the 120-day right of first refusal, and then there's once an action is taken on that, and that can happen before the 120 days is up, there's a 90-day clock. And if I'm not wrong, Wildlands Trust would have 90 days to complete the transaction. If they don't complete the transaction, then
They
right
get
of
to
first
do whatever they
refusal is
want.
And how far into the 120 days are we right now?
It doesn't matter. So if we vote tonight.
No, but how far into it are we? Like
less than 30.
Yeah, so,
35, 30, 35?
More than 30 days, excuse me.
I believe we
More than 30,
received the
okay.
document August. It's stamped on one of those, mid-August.
Mid-August.
Yeah, it was August. I don't have it in front of me, sorry. It was within the first 2 weeks of August. What's today's date, the 9th?
so presumably,
It's
the
roughly
town
30
is
days
moving quickly on this for a town.
for a town.
I mean, we're not at
All the red
day
tape.
110 is my point.
So our Attorney Leiden is on the Zoom.
Although she
for-
may not have been here for
for-
this item.
For a different,
Welcome.
for a different item. But did you pop on because you have something to say about this, Attorney Leiden?
I was just making myself available if you do have a question for me. I haven't completely been following because I don't have the documents in front of me. I know a little bit about right of first refusals. If you do have a question about it, the town has to exercise its right, including a town meeting vote, within that window.
So, Liz, the question before us is, so we have a conservation agency that is interested in purchasing the property, which would mean they're asking the Board of Selectmen to waive our first right of refusal, but rather transfer it to them.
Oh, assign it.
Correct.
Yeah.
So the question being asked by the person trying to sell the property was whether we could condition that so that they didn't get stuck in a long, drawn-out process.
So it wouldn't be conditioned, it would be, you would be assigning it, and then they would have to exercise within the same window. So if they don't exercise within that window,
Yeah.
then that assignment would be moot.
So question for the board, are there any other questions, or are we ready to make a motion? Are we- Okay, why don't we go ahead and just make a motion,
Can I make one comment?
if it's quick?
Yep, we'll be quick. We don't agree with exercising your right or assigning it, but if that were to occur, that we would request a stipulation that it be assigned with the understanding that the price does not move.
I don't think we have the legal
Yeah, we
ability to do
can't.
that.
Did somebody
So
want to
the
make a motion?
price cannot move. If it's exercised, it has to be exercised for the exact price. That's what that means.
So,
Did anybody want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen elect to not exercise but assign the town's first refusal option to purchase certain land owned by Dominique Maribet Trust of property located at Elm Street, map 63, lot 19. Further, I move pursuant to General Law, Chapter 61A, Section 14, to assign the town's right of first refusal to the Wildlands Trust and to authorize the town administrator to take any actions that are required to effectuate such assignment.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Yeah,
against?
I'll go aye.
What?
I said aye.
Okay, and those against?
I'm a no.
Okay, so it's 4-1, it did pass. So thank you to everybody who did show up tonight, and thank you for listening to everything that everybody had to say, so I appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I hate to slow this meeting down. Can we take a couple of minutes just to sign the?
Yes.
Sign the document and have it be notarized by our deputy town clerk? I got a copy.
Just for clarity's sake, what is the next
Want me to
thing
sign
that
this one?
happens? So now Wildlands Trust has to do their thing, but what does that look like, time-wise? So what's the deadline for you guys next? 90 days?
Within the 120 that's already
Okay.
started,
Yep,
we would have to
Sorry.
record the assignment.
here.
Oh, I'm sorry. We would have to record the assignment at
Uh-huh.
the registry. Then I have to get the Wildlands Trust Board to vote to buy it
Okay,
at their next meeting, whenever that is. Then we have to give a notice of exercise and record that. And when I give the notice of exercise, it goes with a conforming PNS to Attorney McCluskey, and then we have 90 days to close.
so that 120-day clock started when we were notified of the PNS?
Yes,
So it's not today, it's whatever date that was.
whenever you receive.
August,
So they took over the clock. They
Yes.
took over the clock from us.
it doesn't start over today, it's whenever they submitted the purchase and sale. Okay,
Okay.
so 120 days to do that. You could do it before then, but it could be within that 120-day window, then there's that 90-day.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So that's within 7 months total from
Cool.
whenever you receive the notice.
Within 7 months. That's not correct. That's 210 days. Excuse me.
120 days is 4 months, and then 90 days is, 120 days is 3 months.
4 months.
4 months,
Inclusive.
And then 90
Right.
days is 3 months.
right?
No, but that's within.
No, it clocks.
Hold
so
on, hold on,
it-
this isn't gonna.
The
we-
clock's,
We don't,
yeah,
this has nothing to do with us.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's unrelated.
This isn't, it doesn't change any of the motion. The motion's made and passed. So whatever the actual dates are, you guys gotta work that out and work it out with the court. It has nothing to do with us.
right. But the,
So-
just, we did this with Winthrop Street, so I just want to make sure that the people who live in this town are clear
Yep.
on what the process is there's a 120-day clock, then once that is finished, the 90-day clock starts. But it could be before that. They could do it tomorrow,
Right.
and then the 90-day clock starts. It's whenever that next step.
Yes, and
When we did it, it took a lot longer because it was during COVID.
yes.
Okay, so, okay. So we're going to move, actually, I'll just give Keith a couple minutes to make a copy before we move on. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump to number 4. This is the, because we have Attorney Leiden here, and she's going to be talking to us about the Kingston cannabis social equity policy. So as soon as Keith comes back, then we'll do that.
So are we taking a pause?
Yeah, so,
No,
Yeah,
I know,
it's
so
not
Where
gonna
did Keith go?
Did you say to take a pause?
no, I didn't.
Oh, do you want to?
Yeah, we're going to do a pause for about 2 minutes.
No?
No?
We're getting a head shake.
Okay, no, we're not pausing.
Okay, we're not pausing.
Sure, all right. What's that?
Well, that's fine.
Yeah, for,
Yeah, 2 minutes.
We're doing 4 next?
We are back in session, and we're going to take a couple items out of order. First up, we're going to go to number 6 on our agenda. It's a consideration of a no parking signs on Main Street at the crosswalk in front of the First Parish Church. Bob Koska is representing the First Parish Church, requesting the board purchase and install 2 no parking between the signs to be placed on both sides of the crosswalk on the First Parish Church side of the street, 222 Main Street. A distance of 20 feet on each side of the crosswalk would be identified as no parking, consistent with traffic standards. This request will assist people crossing the street. Interim Superintendent Sean Turner stated the price of the signs would be approximately $280, and we have that in the budget?
He said yes.
Yes, and so he said yes, we do have that in the budget. Bob, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, just take a minute or two. First of all, I want to commend Sean Turner and his crew for what a fabulous job they did doing the sidewalk in front of First Parish. It was a hazard, and he came and met with us, recognized the hazard, and it was done before our first church service in September. So I want to thank him very much for that effort. We know we have an issue where the crosswalk is because you can park on that side of the street. We have handicap parking. And if anybody parks too close to the sidewalk, then cars can't see somebody ready to cross the street. And it's not as much of a problem on a Sunday because the sun's out, but we have frequent things going on at night at church. And I've been there with a flashlight, and it's flat out dangerous. So if we can put no parking signs on either side of the crosswalk, no parking between the signs, then there'll be enough distance from the cars to the people crossing, and it'll be a significantly safer situation. I think, Sean, you agreed with me, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions, comments, or motions?
I can make a motion. I move the Board of Selectmen approve the request from the First Parish Church to purchase and install 2 no parking between the signs to be placed as described this evening at the crosswalk at 222 Main Street.
Second.
Hold on.
Could I just ask a huge favor? Would there be any willingness at all to split the cost, the $280 cost? The reason I ask that is we have spent a significant amount of money on signs for school zones, things of that nature we didn't anticipate. And so, any assistance that you would be willing to provide to us would be very, very appreciative.
How about if we split it?
That's what I'm saying, yeah, split it 140,
Yeah, I think
140.
that's fair and reasonable. I know, and you've done an awful lot of work, so I'm not going to complain. Every time I walk up that path to the church, thank you.
Don't forget to bless Sean on Sunday.
All right, so, do we need to change the motion?
Nope, it's fine.
Okay. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? It was an all aye.
I think that was 5.
I was just quiet, sorry. Aye.
Okay. He mouthed it.
Oh, jeez.
All right, now we're going to jump back to number 4, I believe. So this is the discussion and possible vote on a Kingston cannabis social equity policy. We talked about this at our prior meeting, and we postponed it so that we could have all 5 Board of Selectmen here to discuss it. This is something that we have to create by state law, that we have to have a policy in place. Attorney Lydon or somebody came up with the sample one that we got today.
It was not me, I can assure you of that.
Okay.
I've been working with Attorney Lydon, who's been spoon-feeding me information,
Yep.
because that seems to be about the speed I can handle at this point. But we put together, with the help of Liz, we put together a policy that that mirrors the town of Lee, Massachusetts, which was an example that the Selectman Emberg had provided to us. Liz had added the last paragraph to it that basically is one of the 2 options the town has, the other being a town meeting vote, if I'm not mistaken, Liz, to have this policy be put in place legally. So the thought was to have it be a Board of Selectmen, bring it forward in front of the Board of Selectmen, have you vote on it, if you're willing to do so, and use that paragraph for that purpose rather than bringing it to a town meeting.
So one of my questions is, the first clause or whatever in this, it says to encourage greater participation, there will be an exclusive period of 6 months limiting the availability of the HCA to qualifying social equity and economic empowerment applicants. I don't like that. I don't like having 6 months just that. Do we have to have that by law in our policy, number 1? Or do we not need that?
So my understanding is that you have 2 licenses, and so if another one becomes available, and you adopt the policy whereby you're accepting social equity applicants on a 1-to-1 ratio, then that period would ensure that the policy is followed. So, and what Keith was saying before is that paragraph that is at the bottom of this policy, as a step 2, after you adopt a social equity policy, the town also needs to either adopt a model bylaw put out by the CCC, and that would require the town meeting vote, or follow this route where you can simply include that sentence in your policy And by adopting the policy, you're fulfilling that next step.
So I may be confused. What is a one-to-one process? Meaning one can be non-social equity, but the other one has to be?
Yes, so for every HCA that you sign with a marijuana establishment, every other one has to be with a social equity applicant until such time as 50% of your licenses are social equity.
Keith, go ahead.
Just a couple of questions, Liz. So, and just for the board's context, the town of Kingston has 2 cannabis licenses. One has been issued and a store is up and operational and has been for the better part of 4 years. The other license has been issued, but nothing has occurred. I don't have the exact date in front of me, but there's a date later on, I believe in 2025, where if no process or progress, has been made, that license is surrendered, and the town of Kingston can then offer that license to another organization that might be interested in opening a cannabis store. So my question to you, Liz, is looking down the road, that second license opens up. We advertise it, that it's available. If a group that is not fall into that social equity portion, does not apply, we can then move forward with somebody who doesn't fall into the social equity policy. Is that fair to say?
Right. So
Then why even have
hold it
one?
for six-
This doesn't make
Sorry?
any sense to me. I'm sorry, but this doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it's not equity.
I think it's the law, the state law that probably doesn't make any sense. to
But,
be
so the
honest.
state law says that every other one has to be. But you just said that if nobody applies, then we have somebody else apply, then we can give it to them. But that, if the state law says that every other one has to go to one, then that
No.
would mean that we'd have to leave it open.
Sorry, no, the state law says you have to adopt either the model bylaw or that 1-to-1 ratio. And so to comply with that policy that says you'll adopt, that you will award HCA's to social equity applicants on a 1-to-1 ratio, another way to comply with that policy is to say that for 6 months, you'll hold off on awarding an HCA, and if you don't receive any social equity applicants' interest, then you could award to a general applicant.
So is the 6 months period defined in state law, or are we just coming up with that?
That was in the regulations and the model that the CCC put out.
Okay.
So are we allowed to not select anyone from candidates that apply?
It's still discretionary under case law, and so you don't have to award any HCA's.
So essentially, if you don't like any of the candidates, you can just.
You don't
wait
have to
6 months
award.
and-
Or you can't come to an agreement on a host agreement, because
just wait.
that's negotiated as well.
Yeah. And then at the end of 6 months, it's open to anyone, and
If I heard you correctly, and I'm sorry if I didn't, but if I heard you correctly, if you open it up for an application or for a potential awarding of a cannabis license, and you don't, and somebody who falls under the social equity parameters applies, you can't wait 6 months, not award it to them, and then award it to somebody else. If they're,
Right.
what I think Liz is saying is if you open this up and say that you have until October 1st to apply, to submit an application to be awarded a cannabis license, and 6 months later, April 1st, nobody has, right? Or the only person that has is somebody outside that does not qualify for the social equity parameter, then you can award it to that person. But you cannot, if a candidate comes in who qualifies under the social equity policy, if they're eligible, you have to award that license to them if you award it to anybody. Now, to Liz's point, you don't have, the board is, the license in my mind is an asset to the town of Kingston. The town of Kingston can decide whether or not it wants to utilize that asset the town of Kingston receives revenue from the sale of marijuana from the existing ongoing business that is currently in Kingston. It's a revenue source potentially for the town of Kingston, but if they chose to not take advantage of that potential revenue source and hold on to that second license, you absolutely have the right to do that.
I will also say that if you award to a social equity applicant, you not only get the 3%, you get an additional 1% of their sales in taxes.
Treat the applicant, you gotta treat the applicant equitably, but we can take 1% more from them, so
So
that's not
we can give a license
It's
to
not
someone
equitable at
who
And
could
it's
have,
not
Opposite of
equitable.
equitable.
so we have to give a license to somebody who has previously potentially served jail
Potentially. There's a
time
large
and who's
category,
dealing with
several categories.
all cash business to give us 4%.
So again, my.
I love it.
My limited dealing, and maybe the chief knows more, my limited dealing with the Cannabis Commission is challenging to deal with, very, very tight oversight. So I get the fact that, it's.
You're cracking me up.
I'm trying not to.
This is like LA. Like, we don't have any violence. I mean, like, what is going on with the state?
Oh, man. Do we want to
This
pass
is
this policy
ridiculous.
or what? What are we doing?
I don't care. Make a motion.
And if I could, just before the board makes a motion, and I think Liz raised this a couple weeks ago, the CCC can fine communities. They have not done that yet if they don't adopt this, so we don't know what the fine structure may be. So, again, this isn't the hill I'm dying on. I just want to make sure the board's aware that, or smoking on for that matter. But I just want to make sure the board is aware that if a policy is not adopted, there is a risk of some sort of fine that has not been defined yet.
So just to quickly clarify kind
Please.
of what you brought back to me is, we can't just open it in 6 months, but we have the right to keep saying no to applicants we don't want, and then that just 6 months kind of just keeps getting pushed further and further back, right?
Yeah, I mean.
But we can say no to someone we don't want.
You can say, so the
right?
reality is you can get an application that could potentially, Liz, correct me if I'm wrong. You can get an application from someone that potentially fits under this policy. You still have to negotiate a host community agreement regardless of who
Yeah.
applies. But the idea, I think, is that you prioritize anyone who fits under those categories, which I fundamentally
Right, or-
philosophically have a problem with.
Or equally.
But-
As long as we can actually as long as this protects us from being fined, but we can still actually treat the applicants equally, unlike
Right.
this
So,
rule.
and it's important, I guess it's important for the board to recognize, the town of Kingston has established a host community agreement with the organization that's already here.
So we have no
Liz,
open-
correct me if I'm wrong, but basically that's the benchmark that we would have to negotiate by
Right.
with a second potential license holder. So they would be held to the same level of responsibilities in the terms of the agreement.
So when that
as-
gets released, it wouldn't be renegotiated?
It'll be renegotiated, but we have an existing establishment that has a host community agreement. And the terms of that host community agreement have to be at least, they have to match, I guess, and be as costly potentially to the applicant, but no more costly. It can't be better or worse for whoever that second license holder would be. The terms have to be basically the same.
So I will just say, I don't like that, well, I think everybody knows how I feel, but I also appreciate Attorney Lydon for taking the time for 2 meetings coming here and to try to help us come up with something. And Keith, I hope nobody thinks I'm frustrated with you, because it's not you, it's what you're saying.
Oh, I understand.
And it's our state. That's where my frustration is. But I also agree, I mean, I'm leaning more towards voting for something only, even though I just don't want to, but because I do know that the state also has a history of
Punishing.
extortion with dealing with cities and towns in Massachusetts. And how
It sounds
many?
like we can still kind of control it,
Yeah,
and it's not worth, we're not in a position to start getting fined.
No,
no,
once,
no.
I mean, once the second license, once that agreement expires, my suggestion would be the board have a conversation if you want to, and decide whether you want to offer that license up to interested parties or not.
Okay.
If this goes through as is, can I ask that it be changed from Select Board to Board of Selectmen, please?
Sorry about that, yes. It was a model we used.
I know, we're just not there.
All right, so does anybody want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen adopt the recommended cannabis social equity policy presented this evening.
Is there a second? All right, all
With the
those.
modification.
With the modification, yep. So all those in favor? Aye.
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 I reluctantly.
Absolutely not.
Thanks, Liz.
4-1.
Welcome.
Thanks, Liz.
It was probably
Thank you.
really 2-3, because you and I were probably no's, but. All right, so now we're going backwards again, to number 2, request for opioid settlement funds from, the police department. So, Chief Holmes is requesting the use of opioid settlement fund balance monies to establish a regional family services unit of the police department. Received notification that we, got a grant funding a licensed mental health clinician. And as previously discussed, this would be a shared resource between Kingston, Plimpton, Halifax, but overseen by Chief Holmes. The opioid funds would be used for office space, benefits, and health insurance, as well as other expenses that may arise. The proposed health division is a significant step forward for the growth and development of the police department. Chief Holmes will be meeting with DMH in mid-September to discuss steps toward operationalizing the program. Chief, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, honorable members, Mr. Hickey. You summarized it well. There are 2 different grants at play here. One's a grant, one is opiate settlement. The grant is the jail diversion program through the Mass Department of Mental Health that covers the salary, benefits, and the full insurance for what would become a full-time Kingston employee, yet serving 3 different towns, Plimpton and Halifax. The grant for DMH also covers the administrative oversight in a clinical sense. They pay for a contract that we would enter into with an agency that does like the oversight portion of it, like somebody that's supersedes a licensed mental health clinician. There are some things built into this grant that would cover overtime costs for call-outs, and that is the grant side of it through jail diversion. The opiate settlement funds, I put a recommended motion in there that would include the current balance and future funds to support the program, but not exclusively the program. It would be startup costs including office space, furniture, a computer, phone, and if the board earmarks this and it falls under the police department, I would be required under the opiate settlement fund recommended usages to have public input. And in that public input, basically it would be, anybody that, I'd work with the board to see what you're comfortable with, but ideally, town administrator, selectman, town accountant, public health, a member of the public, a member of Plymouth County Outreach, people that have a vested interest in seeing how this program works, to basically help guide us for the use of these funds going forward. The town accountant is required to file, I believe, an annual report of the use of the funds back to the state. The opiate settlement funds come from a class action lawsuit and they're trickled down through the state. The grant through the Department of Mental Health is funded fully through the state's budgetary process. It was originally cut down from about $22 million to $2 million in the original governor's original return of the budget. After a lot of pressure to reinstate the funding, it's at about $19 million. What happens with the grant through the Department of Mental Health is agencies and cities and towns that have a clinician through the grant receive first preference when it comes up to the next fiscal year to renew the grant. So what we would be receiving would be basically a prorated, probably November through June 30th for the remainder of the fiscal year that would fund this personnel position. And then probably around March, we'd have to apply for a renewal of the grant. The coordinator has basically said that she's got a goal to extend the program for a decade. Another question that came up in speaking with some of you is what happens if it doesn't get funded? Well, then the town has a choice. It's either cut the program and end it or collaborate with Plimpton, Halifax, and us to fully fund the position. I've seen it go both ways. People that apply for these positions on a grant, they know that they're taking a risk going into that, because they know that they're on a grant and it's subject to state funding and appropriation, or in some cases, federal funding, like Plymouth County Outreach is, kind of hurting for money right now, because the program didn't get fully funded again. The balance, according to the accountant, for what's in opiate special revenue fund or opiate settlement fund is 134,859.11, but the board about maybe a month or 6 weeks ago voted to transfer some of that money, I think 17,000, to the fiduciary of Plymouth County Outreach, which is East Bridgewater. We were waiting to hear back on what actually needed to be done, when and how. So none of that's been taken out of that balance of 134,859.11. This estimated annual payments ends in the year fiscal 38. So that's it in a nutshell. I mean, I talked about it a little bit today at the department heads meeting, received positive feedback. This is not just something that is for the police. This is actually something that's a resource for the community. It would obviously be housed at the Kingston Police Department, but I would talk about partnerships with the school and who they have on staff for their adjustment counselors and any kind of, people that work in that line of work. Because when we go to these calls in a co-response model and the clinician is going with the police or following up the next day, you have students that are affected. The state has, the school has a protocol for keeping an eye on kids that have been involved in a traumatic event. Happy to work with the Veterans Agent, Council on Aging. We would be working with the courts, so the clinician would be a link to the court because we do a lot of Section 35s and we do a lot of Section 12s. And the co-response model, if the person who's doing the work as a clinician is working, ideally it would be 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. or some sort of shift like that, because a lot of the stuff happens in the afternoon hours. But there may be times where it's like, we had a bad one, you need to come in. And there is some provision in the grant for overtime for that purpose. So happy to answer any questions. I think I covered everything. I sent in an email in response to the town administrator that I think would be helpful if it was shared with you. But, the timeline, if the board approves this tonight, is the approval of the earmarking would be tonight. DMH operational assessment 1 to 2 weeks from now. Intermunicipal agreements 2 to 4 weeks, so we'd have to do an IMA. Had a preliminary discussion with Attorney Federoff about doing that and the purpose of it. Office space acquisition, we'd be ordering within 2 to 5 weeks, but it's a 15-week wait time, and I'll add a little more to that in a minute. 2 to 4 weeks out. Job description and policy development, I would work with Human Resources on the actual job description and the advertising of the position. 4 to 8 weeks out, advertisement and recruitment. And then candidate selection ideally would be in November. That's a pretty steep deadline. It's something that I put out there because there's a lot of change happening fast within the department. Office space acquisition. So getting office space, because we don't have any, for the department's clinician is an improved use of the funds. Mr. Hickey has an email trail on that. And just a full disclosure, there's a lease option for $20,000 a year for a trailer. And it's cheaper to buy one. I got a quote in my hand here, I'm not kidding you, $56,147 for a 32x8 trailer. We have a space picked out to the left side of the station. I've had a couple of preliminary talks with Mr. Kuko of Facilities Department. And I know it's a lot to unpack, which is why I made a phone call to everybody this morning except for Ms. Bateman because I forgot. Sorry. Happy to answer any questions.
So I have one quick question. So you talked about the committee, I forget what it's called, but a committee that has to review the expenditures.
Yep.
Did you say that the fire chief or somebody from the fire department is also on that?
I apologize, I left the fire chief out, but I did mention that this morning in the, in the department heads meeting. So fire chief, and again, it's either 1 or 2 members of the board. You're welcome to sit in. It's good to know what's happening with state funds. Purchase of a $56,000 item, I'd have to go before capital planning, even though it's not town funds, it's still purchased by the town. and the rest is a lot less money than that. I did have one discussion with one of the two chiefs about, hey, we have an opiate settlement fund. What should we be doing to support you folks who are doing this thing as a resource? And I said, hey, thanks, we'll take it all. And then he said, wait, hold on. So the guiding coalition should have input on how that would break down. The risk that we run here as a town is that if we don't come up with a good use of those funds, we risk it being taken back by the state. So I don't want to see that happen. This is a great opportunity for not only Kingston, but Kingston to partner with Plimpton and Halifax and provide a resource to those communities that, as everybody here well knows, are as budget strapped as this town.
Would Plimpton and Halifax contribute
Financially?
financially to the office and the other
I mean,
pieces?
I already got one offer, so they could contribute something so that we're using these opiate settlement funds in a more slow and incremental manner. I mean, I didn't ask the other guy, but I know that I work well with both of them, and then if I ask for funds for something, that they'd be able to contribute.
Yeah, Keith.
So just from kind of behind the scenes of how this would work and the accounting of it all, the chief and I have had a conversation already, so he's aware of it. We would have to try to whittle down what the impacts would be in fiscal '26, probably being a supplemental budget request to town meeting in October, which would be fully funded by the grants and the opioid fund, so there's no impact to taxpayers, but we would have to, I believe, raise and appropriate monies to operate this family services unit, and that's the methodology I think you'd have to use, just so you're aware and aren't surprised when we start putting together information for the warrant that there'd be some sort of amount requested that would be, again, offset solely by the two revenue sources that the chief had mentioned. The intermunicipal agreement that I think the chief mentioned earlier as well, I think it's going to, the impression I get, and I don't want to speak for you, so correct me if I'm wrong, there'll be a discussion on how the three communities share those expenses, whether it's a percentage somehow based on population or some matrix. I think that all three towns are going to have to sign off on the intermunicipal agreement and are going to have to agree with, you know, how the funds are used and you know, what percentage is going to be assigned by each community. So it's, I mean, it's not going to be anywhere near as complicated as this is the agreement between the towns and the schools. So I'm just trying to suggest that it's going to be something.
Just use that same math?
Something, well, no. It's going to be something that, you know, has the same backbone, so to speak, of an agreement that's just going to talk about what the expenses are and how they're going to be divvied up. And all that would have to come back to the Board of Selectmen for final approval. And you'll be discussing the budget items, you know, between now and mid-October. Thank you.
Pension contributions are not covered. Everything else is.
So I think, you know, we've had people reach out to the board with concerns that, you know, we would be adding a new program or expanding a department when we're looking at the next year. The fiscal year as being, we have potential override, we may need to be making cuts in some departments, and the optics of growing are going to look bad, and I understand that. But in my opinion, if it's 100% covered by grants, to me, I don't care about the optics if it's covered by something other than our general fund and taxes.
And
But you're talking about long-term too,
I'm
right?
just talking about me.
So if I could,
Yep.
just to try to piggyback on that a little bit, I mean, I think the chief has already said at some point down the road, there may be a budget decision that has to be made whether or not, you know, if the grant funds run out, is the program beneficial enough to have it continue or not? Or
Right.
is there another funding
Right.
source we can find? What I think is important, and I think it dovetails on what you just mentioned, Mr. Chair, is the funds that we have received for the opioid settlements can't supplement or supplant, existing budget needs. So I can't say I'm going to go buy, I'm not going to buy 3 cars for the capital improvement program for the police department. I'll buy 2, and I'm going to use the opioid money for a third one. You can't do that. It's for new programs that are being offered to expand upon the services that the police department and other town departments will have in utilizing those funds for the purposes they've been established for. So,
Right.
I
So does
think
that
it's
mean that we would not be able to use it for the following year for the same things?
I think you can use, so you could use it for
Because the
example.
program is for opioid.
Oh, yeah, no, but you can't, so, you know, one of the requests that was brought forward initially was from the fire department to purchase some
Heart monitors. or
heart
something.
monitors. And I had a concern, frankly, that knowing that the opioid funds are supposed to be for individuals who have had some sort of experience with opioids. And when you put heart monitors on an ambulance, some of them will be people who have been treated for opioid addiction, some of them won't be. So I asked the fire chief to participate in a phone call with me with the agency who's overseeing the approval of these funds. We laid out what we were looking to try to do with those. They ran the ask up the ladder, and we were told, and I have the email that I'm happy to share with the board, if I haven't already, that will be supplanting funds. They'd be used for people outside of the designated people it's supposed to be used for. So in that regard, that's the supplanting of funds that I'm trying to donate or to discuss, using it for 2 or 3 or 4 years for the retirement costs or office supplies or, you know, the purchase of a trailer, if we rent it rather than buy it. Those types of things are fine. It's, you know,
All right.
again, not buying ammunition.
That makes
or
sense.
Right.
Type of thing with it, for example.
So, again, for me, this is just me, I think the whole idea, I think it's a great idea to try this, and if it's covered by grants, I can defend that. You know, it's not gonna hit the taxpayers now, it could in the future, for sure.
How much is the retirement contribution, do we think?
I don't know. So, yeah, so,
Okay, I was just, you mentioned it as a cost, so I
Yeah.
just, knowing that our funds are extremely tight, just thought I should ask.
so,
I can get that number for you. I mean, obviously, the retirement contributions are based on wages. The wages, and again, I don't want to step on the chief here, but there's a process that we're going to have to follow.
right,
To have this position be identified in a grade placed in our wage and personnel policy in the spring, that will identify what the salary of that position will be, and based on the salary, the retirement contribution will be based on the salary. I'm happy to bring back to the board, you know, what we think an employee's wage range would be, and provide to the board, you know, what that retirement contribution range would be, if you'd like to see that.
and I would push back and say how Plimpton and Halifax would need to help us with.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's one area that they would need to, but,
For the purposes of this motion, though, what we're being asked is to earmark the opioid settlement funds essentially indefinitely until, you could always vote it again, a new vote, a motion later, right? I mean, if we decided we needed to change things, we
Yeah,
could.
I think what we're looking for as staff is the commitment, the board committing to utilizing the opioid funds for the purpose that the chief has outlined this evening, and then we'll get into the nitty-gritty and the due diligence and get the intermunicipal agreement squared away so we can identify specifically how the cost sharing is going to be. We'll set up a budget, we'll bring that budget to the Board of Selectmen, to the Finance Committee, and ultimately the town meeting to request the necessary funds with the supporting revenue sources that will allow the public to see that there's no cost to the community. So this is just, before we jump through the hoops of getting you know, dotting the i's and crossing the t's, we wanted to come in front of the board to see if the board is supportive of the program in theory. And if you are, then we'll bring back the details of the program and how it's going to be funded, and the board at that point can vote yea or nay.
I'm supportive of it in theory. I have concerns about costs, so it'll be ironed out, I suppose, in the future meetings. But generally, I'm supportive. I mean, Chief, you brought this, I don't know, right as soon as we met you. I think you started talking about a family services unit. So this is not, this is not new. This is not a new idea.
This is materializing at my last employer now. It was one of the last things I did before I left.
And we didn't have any other requests for these funds, correct?
We've had, again, it's been a while. I made the school department, the police department, the fire department, I think I mentioned it in the department head meeting, to make sure that people were aware that these opportunities are out there. And I think and we had the ask by the fire department a few months ago, and when we checked with the agency that's overseeing the expense of the funds, they said it wasn't an allowable expense, even though, and I think you may have heard this already, that some other communities around us have purchased the same equipment.
Interesting.
So I don't know how you reconcile that. That's not it's not what I'm going to be looking for at this point.
The other thing I would suggest is that maybe in this, like, third line down in the motion where we say, used by the Kingston Police Department to support the department's implementation of the Family Services Unit and other department programs. I would suggest that, per the committee that you have to create, that we also say another police department, fire department, and maybe school programs. Just add that all in there so that it can be used in any way. But what we're saying in this regard is that we're putting it under the watch of the police department, although it really has to be decided upon by the group, what do we call that?
Guiding coalition.
Okay. So the coalition.
Well, it doesn't say that in this motion, though.
No,
We're
it
just
doesn't.
essentially saying, we support this idea.
Yeah.
That's really
Right,
all
well,
the vote is
and I
tonight.
think, and I think when the police department comes back with all the final documents, some of the motions will be, or the guidelines and whatever document the chief brings forward will show that the appropriate, the process used to approve funds for this program would be reviewed and approved by, this group of people that have been identified as the board of this program.
All right, so if there's no further questions, does someone want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen earmark the remaining and future opioid settlement funds for the use by the Kingston Police Department to support the department's implementation of a family services unit and other department programs aimed at mitigating the impact of the opioid epidemic, and the reporting of use of the funds shall be to the town accountant.
Do you have a
Do
second?
you want to amend that to include other departments as well, or is it clear with other department?
Other department programs, I think we're okay
Okay.
leaving it
I just wasn't
that
sure because
way.
you had asked.
Yeah.
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? No.
That's
5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for
5-0, I get it.
All right. Next item is a request to set the winter plow rates for contracted plow drivers. So we have historically relied on contracted plow drivers to support streets, trees, and employees with sanding and salting town roads. So we do have a memo from our interim superintendent of streets, trees, and parks recommending plow rates and insurance bonus be increased for this coming winter. The rates were last increased in the winter of 23-24. And we do have it broken down in here. Any questions, or do you have anything you want to say, or just answer questions?
In the memo, it says in 2023, we had over 30 hired contractors. Last year, we only had 16.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the rates
we
of, the
we
rates
lost
of,
quite a few.
Sean, what Sean's done, you see, there's different percentages, the rates have increased, depending on the type of equipment. And that's really based on the need of the type of equipment we have.
Yeah.
Trying to get the Kingston rates to be more competitive with some of the surrounding communities. So that's why there's not a specific rate increase across the board for some of these.
And I remember when we went up last time, it was because the state raised their rates, or a lot of people.
Yeah, now it's
getting
other
scooped.
towns.
Yeah.
Other towns, and really, the bigger trucks on here, I didn't go up as high on with last time we did, because our trucks were older. Now that we're receiving our newer trucks, there's more of a need for the smaller trucks, and that's why we needed to go up. Asking to go up on the smaller vehicles.
Are we early in setting our rates? Do we set our rates before other communities and then other communities up their rates a little bit over ours, just to poach the drivers? That's my question.
Well, in a way, I like to get them out early, but we try not to post those rates
Well, it's in our
online
packet.
until we, that's what it is, and I had the discussion with Keith a while
Yeah,
ago. It's
okay.
like, I try to call around to other towns, get them, they're not giving them to us. It's almost like a battle back and forth of who's gonna go up first and then follow. But the problem is, we can't wait too long
Right, no,
to
understood.
set them. We usually have the contract sent out by the middle of September.
Okay, so we're pretty much as late as we can go.
Can they
Basic.
dual contract, Sean? Like, can they contract with Kingston and Duxbury or Kingston and Plymouth?
No,
Okay,
once they
so
sign a
once
contract with us,
It's exclusive.
yeah, they have to,
Okay.
yes.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen approve the winter plow rates included in the board packet and continue to offer an insurance bonus in the amount of $1,000 as proposed by the Streets, Trees, and Parks interim superintendent this evening.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you to the board.
500.
That'll hopefully help us keep our roads one of the best around in the South Shore.
Or maybe it
They've
just won't
always have
snow,
been.
right?
Or maybe it just won't snow.
Right. Sorry,
All right.
that's wood, that's wood.
The next item, correct me if I'm wrong, we're back to number 7. Yeah, so proposal to upgrade existing EV charging station to a level 2, 32A, dual port EVSE chargers. We talked about this in our last meeting, about upgrading existing EV charging stations located at townhouse and library parking lots. Comments were received from the public. The company's proposing the upgrade. EVSE Solutions is proposing to upgrade the current chargers to level 2, 32A, dual port chargers at no cost. So Derek, Bill Nitzer, if I think he's
Yes, he's here.
He is here, but he said he might not be at the meeting. Hey, Derek.
He appears to be on a train.
Yeah, okay.
If anybody has questions about the new SLA, I am more than happy to answer them too, so.
All right. Well, Derek, I appreciate you taking the time during our last meeting to give us some information and also to work with the company to kind of look at what they offered. I'm just going to read kind of from an email that Derek sent me. So he said he spoke to the company that proposed the chargers. They've provided an updated proposal for smart chargers. While he agrees it's an improvement, he said he's not sure it makes sense to spend $50,000 when we already have 2 chargers in place that see relatively low utilization. So he said, in fact, I'd be more inclined to see new chargers installed at a location like the Adams Center rather than replacing existing units or placed on other town-owned land closer to retail to encourage shopping while vehicles are charging. So he wanted to share his thoughts since he might likely not be able to attend the meeting. And I was speaking for him because he's on a train, so I figured it's easier for me to kind of read through this email. Keith, do you have anything to add?
I don't. I brought this forward knowing that the technology that we're looking to install is not state-of-the-art.
Right.
It's an upgrade to what we have now. It's what's available at no cost to the town. From my point of view, if the town can provide a service like this at no cost, it's an opportunity for us to do that if the board wanted to go in that direction. I don't think the town of Kingston is in the electric vehicle charging business, and probably shouldn't be. And so there was an opportunity to take advantage of a grant to upgrade to some degree the existing charging stations that are now at the end of their useful life. I don't know, maybe Derek asked this question of the company. I haven't. I don't know if the company will be willing to place them on other town locations. At this point, they have not come back to me to ask me, hey, would you be comfortable putting it at one of the fire stations and the police station, for example. So I don't know if the challenge is the infrastructure to the charging stations are there already, and I think it would just be maybe as simple as plug and play, so to speak, taking one charger out, putting one charger in. I don't know if based on the revenue that we we earn from the existing charging stations of less than $1,600, I think, a year. If, you know, a company would be willing to, yeah, all I'll do. If the-
But they did change, this is a different charger now,
Yep.
but it's gonna cost us money.
It's not gonna cost us money. It's a
Okay.
grant.
Okay.
So.
But they upgraded
They-
since the last
they up-
presentation.
Yeah, I think, because of Derek's questioning, frankly, I think that the company did a better job and presented us with a better opportunity for
Right.
maybe a baby step better charging station. But again, their proposal is to replace the 2 charging stations that are, 1 at the library and 2 behind the townhouse. I can go back to them if the board would like me to and ask them if they'd be willing to put them at 2 additional locations, but they're just, you know, I know that there's staff in this building that use the station. I'm not sure how many other people do. We had a call, or the librarian had a call recently from a resident who goes in on a regular basis to the library to read the paper, and they plug in and charge. And occasionally, I guess, the circuit that the charger is on blows and had blown, so they weren't able to charge their car for a couple of days until they made the phone call saying that something was wrong, and we were able to fix it very simply by just resetting the circuit breaker. So, you know, it's really up to the board on how they want to proceed with this. This is,
So we could ask them to put it into 2 new locations. I mean, I like the idea of something near retail, but I don't know what land well, I guess the Adams Center,
Well,
well, even the library is
The problem I'm
walkable.
hearing, though, is that the current chargers need to be
I know,
replaced
I
in order to
know.
make them effective. So by putting them in new places, you're pretty much losing the 2 you have. So I
So
guess,
my question is,
Yeah.
will those 2 that are already in the existing spots, I know they're at the end of their life, but what does that mean? That they could still work for 2 more years, but then if they stop working, then are we on the hook for having them removed? And
So-
pay for that?
so I
You
think
know
we,
what I'm saying?
yeah, so I think we'd be on the hook to have them removed. I can't imagine, and again, I'm not an expert, so I apologize. I'm making an assumption here to say that I can't imagine it's a significant amount of money to shut the power off legally to those charging stations and remove them and dispose of them.
My personal preference would be to get out of the business altogether. And I know I'm gonna be told, well, it doesn't cost us anything, but we're spending 15, 20 minutes discussing it right now.
you're making Derek laugh, by the way.
I
He's
miss
missed
you on
you.
the finance committee, Carl. You're very missed.
Yeah, I mean, we could also just wait it out.
I mean, I appreciate what the concerns that Derek brought forward. I think we have a better proposal, even if it's just a slight
Right.
proposal. I think we know there are people using it at the library, we know there are people using it at the townhouse, and if those devices aren't working, then it makes sense to replace them. That's my thought.
Okay.
I'm not in agreement of putting them in 2 new places, I think.
Not at this time,
Right.
maybe
Okay.
eventually.
So, any other questions, comments? If not, a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen approve entering into a contract with EVSE Solutions to replace the existing charging stations at the Townhouse and Kingston Library with Level 2, 32A dual port EVSE charges as discussed this evening.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Against,
All right, it's 1. Derek, thank you very, very much for your input and for speaking
sure.
with this firm. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Number 8, consideration of an approval of a 1-day liquor license for 42nd Brew and the bartending service of New England.
You don't have to read all that.
I'm
It's in
not
the
going
motion.
to. I'm opening it up to a motion.
You want me, I move the Board of Selectmen approve the following 1-day liquor license requests. 42nd Brew Company, Kingston Agricultural Fair, 26 Evergreen Street, September 21st from 1 to 4 p.m. 42nd Brew Company at Gears, and I think it's supposed to say Beers, not Bears, Car Show. 26 Wapping Road, September 26th from 4 to 7 p.m. And bartending service in New England, Sip and Stroll Oktoberfest, 101 Kingston Collection Way, October 4th from 12 to 5 p.m.
Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye.
aye.
All right.
That's a good reminder of the agricultural fair. We probably should have, did we say that?
We didn't yet because we have one more.
Announcements?
But yes.
All right, so we have discussion and possible appointment of an interim town administrator. So, Kim, do you want to?
Oh, sorry, yes. Still taking notes. Okay, so we discussed a couple of options for interim town administrator, and we have a contract before us for consideration. Unless there are questions, I move to execute the interim town administrator contract with George Samia. I didn't want to pronounce it wrong. Are we saying effective at a date agreeable by both parties, meaning Mr. Hickey and Mr. Samia?
I think we're saying effective September 29th.
Okay.
Contingent on the agreement between
Mr. Hickey
he
and
and
Mr.
Mr.
Samia.
Samia.
Works
Yeah.
for me.
And did you already, and I'm sorry, I didn't listen to your entire motion. Did you explain where he's coming from?
You can, go ahead.
So George has been Keith is going to serve as the town administrator in Fairhaven, Massachusetts. George has been serving as the interim town administrator in Fairhaven since a long time.
January, I
I
think?
think it was before that. I think it might have been before that. So we're doing a one-for-one swap. They're getting Keith. We're getting George, which will make for an interesting transition. We had originally thought of doing like a one-week overlap with an interim and Keith. Obviously, that's not going to happen, so.
They can train each other.
They can train each other. They'll probably do, maybe we'll do half a day with them here together for half a day, over in Fairhaven for half a day together. I mean, we'll let you guys work that out, and whatever will work, so.
Can you also just provide a brief update to everyone on the town administrator search in terms of where we stand on that? The job listing was posted and.
It has been posted. I don't know if we've received any applications. We have, okay. We have received some applications, so that's good, and it's up until October, what was it?
10th, right.
10th, thank
So a
you.
month
Right.
as of tomorrow.
Right, so we're moving full steam ahead.
Great.
All right, so,
Did I
I
think I
second
made a
on this
motion.
very long motion.
yes.
I can't wait till someone has to write that up.
Poor Tricia. Sorry, Tricia.
So did we get a second?
Yes, Don did.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So that was unanimous.
I will call both the folks we considered.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, so that was easy. Discussion on establishing a veterans district with the town of Duxbury. Keith, do you want to?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Introduce.
So I'd like to introduce Sarah Lansing. She is our veterans agent. And
Suffering through our whole meeting, poor
She,
thing.
her eyes, she's much more awake than I expected her to be. So, just for background, Sarah's been here for a few months now, is doing an amazing job, and prior to coming to work for her hometown, she worked for the town of Duxbury as a veterans agent, so she knows both communities really well. Sarah was approached, I think initially by the town administrator or staff over in Duxbury about wanting to, Kingston's interest in potentially forming a veterans district. It was something that we kicked around, frankly, when we lost our two veterans group and our two veterans admins, and couldn't get any traction with Duxbury at the time. So, make a long story short, what we're asking for this evening is to see if the board would be willing to move forward, very similar to, I think, what the framework of Chief Holmes did this tonight. We're interested in seeing if the board would be willing to establish a veterans district with the town of Duxbury. What that would mean is Sarah would be the veterans agent for both communities. She would be the employee of the town of Kingston. Is part of the model set up for the number of veterans that would be serviced by both communities. I apologize, Sarah. I'm assuming Massachusetts Executive Office of Veteran Services have identified, thank you so much. They've established kind of a guideline for staffing levels, and what their guideline is for the two communities to have a full-time veterans agent and a full-time admin. Very honestly, by adding a second person, along with the benefit cost of doing that, it would be cost prohibitive to move forward. So Sarah has said that she believes that she can handle this with a part-time admin that would not be benefits eligible. So that significantly reduces the cost. The theory is to have Sarah and her admin in Kingston 2 days a week and then potentially in Duxbury 2 days a week. The thought is that if a veteran in Kingston was in need of assistance immediately, and it happened to be a day that Sarah was in Duxbury, if there was an issue with that person getting to Duxbury, we could let Sarah know that, and we could make arrangements to work collaboratively with Duxbury to make sure that everybody's needs are filled. I don't believe for a second that the benefit levels and the support that's being provided currently is going to suffer with the formation of a district. There would be a cost saving. So what we would be doing basically is the benefits, and when I say benefits, the expenses that we budget for in Kingston for the veteran services and the benefits or the expenses that Duxbury budgets for in the town of Duxbury would remain in each community's budget, right? We would split the cost 50-50 for the veterans agent and the part-time admin position with Duxbury. That's the only, so that would be the cost sharing. So whatever the total cost is for wages and benefits for the two positions, each community would split that down the middle. Based on an estimated budget we have right now, we believe that will save Kingston about $78,000 a year, which is primarily the savings from, frankly, paying half of Sarah's salaries and benefits. We have, the town of Duxbury, and it's included in your board packet, was kind enough to put together an agreement that has been reviewed by Duxbury's council. It hasn't been reviewed by Kingston, but we didn't want to have them do that, frankly, at this point, until we understood that the Board of Selectmen wanted to pursue this. A timeline would be, ideally, we would have to, again, potentially go in front of town meeting this fall and amend the budget to reflect the compensation for two employees rather than just one. We would also be able to, again, have an offsetting revenue that would more than, in this case, more than offset the costs that we would be increasing the veterans budget by. Once the Board of Selectmen has approved the concept of a district, the agreement between both communities would go to the Mass Executive Office of Veteran Services, and they would review and they would have to approve that document. The target date to implement this, if the board wanted to move forward with this, would be about the 1st of January. So I want to really give credit to Sarah for stepping up, for trying to find a way to service both communities, provide a great service, and ultimately is a secondary benefit, I guess, to some. To others, it might be a primary benefit. Do it at a cost savings to both communities. So I think it's a win-win opportunity here. We'd love to hear the board's comments. And if the board's interested in pursuing this, we'll have the document reviewed. We'll put together a final budget. We'll bring it back to the board in 2 weeks, and we'll reach out to the Massachusetts Executive Office of Veteran Services and get them started in the review of the document and making sure that we have dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's with regards to forming that district. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
That $78,000 potential cost savings, that's for a year?
Yes.
Okay, so if we start at January 1st, it would really be half that? Just for this year.
39,000.
Got it.
You're
Okay.
absolutely right.
And I just want to clarify one thing.
Sure, I wish you would.
Ms. Dreckey, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Board of Selectmen. I'll keep it short. Keith said in an emergency, Kingston residents could come over to the Duxbury office or vice versa. It would be encouraged that residents, if they need an appointment on Thursday and I'm in Kingston, Duxbury could come here. You know, the formation of the district, it would be just to continue to serve people as quickly as we can. Duxbury's town hall is a 4-minute drive from our town hall. So I think that it's still a pretty reasonable ask for residents to go there if they choose to, or come here. Thank you.
And I'm happy to answer any other questions, too.
I personally think it's an excellent idea, and I think as we go forward, years and years, we keep talking about budget problems. I think that we need to be creative in finding ways to combine expenses between various municipalities. And I think that this is a good start at a relatively small level, but, you know, it's just an example of being able to get something done. I'm old enough to remember when schools first started being regionalized. Oh, no, we can't regionalize schools. Well, guess what? We did it. I think that there's going to be more and more push to regionalize other municipal services.
And every other state does this. I mean, where I grew up in Fairfax County, Virginia, but there was something like 18 high schools, 40 middle schools, and like 100 elementary schools. So, you know, it definitely works.
I believe we looked into this when we were searching for a veterans agent before, and Duxbury wasn't super excited about the idea, but
Yeah, I mean.
It works
so
now,
I'm
so,
trying to, yeah,
all
so
right.
I'm trying to, again, I'm trying to be
I know, you're
politically
being
correct.
diplomatic, I get it.
I thought it was a great idea back then.
It
It still is a
was.
good
Well, keep
idea.
in mind, their override failed.
Well, they don't, keep in mind,
Duxbury.
they don't have a veterans agent.
Right,
Because-
that's
Because
what I
their
was gonna say.
incredibly qualified veterans agent now is sitting in our building.
Right.
And I
So
would
now
su-
we're just gonna share.
And I would suggest that the concern that people had years ago about a regional school district was the long wagon rides to and from school.
So I have a question, just one question. I love all of this, but what if Duxbury goes to their town meeting and doesn't approve this? What happens then?
So I believe that the town of Duxbury doesn't have to go to the town meeting and approve it.
Okay.
The town, well, I shouldn't say that. There's no cost, there's a cost savings to the town of Duxbury, because the town of Kingston is bearing the total expense of so we're gonna show, just for argument's sake, $70,000+ $80,000 for a veterans agent, plus X number of dollars for an admin. So let's just say arguably it's $100,000. I've got to show that, then I'm gonna show an offsetting revenue of $50,000 to have a net cost to the town of Kingston of $50,000. Right now, Duxbury has a cost of, say, $78,000. Their cost is going down to $50,000 as well. So I believe the only approval that needs to occur is at the Board of Selectmen level. The town manager presented this to their Board of Selectmen a couple of weeks ago. They seem to be very supportive of it as well. It is a cost-saving opportunity for them, and they're challenged right now like we are with funding. So I don't think there would need to be a formal town meeting vote for funding in Duxbury, because it would be, again, ultimately a budget savings to the town, not a budget cost.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen support the creation of a veterans district between the towns of Kingston and Duxbury, and request staff to finalize the necessary for final approval and signature from the Board of Selectmen.
Can I just say one last thing? I
Necessary.
apologize, because I just want to make sure I say it so nobody says, I didn't know that. One of the things that we've got to do, I believe, because of the added responsibilities for Sarah, is potentially look at, and I'm not promising anything, but I'm just saying we need to look at the way that we've graded her salary, or her wage, or her job responsibilities. And there may be some sort of a bump from one grade to the next to reflect the additional responsibilities. It may cut into the $78,000 savings, but it's not going to be significant, in my opinion. But I want the board to be aware that with the added responsibilities will be potentially a little bit of an added bump in salary that will be shared by both communities. So
Wage and personnel would look at that and
wage
then
and
make a
it's got to go to wage
recommendation.
and personnel, and that would go forward in the spring. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands all the different moving parts that are here, so nobody can say, I wish I had known that, I might have voted differently. That's all.
Don, can we just amend that to say necessary agreement for final approval?
I'll allow it.
All right, did we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks for your patience.
All right. Next item is opening special town meeting warrant. The board is required to open the special town meeting warrant. Opening the warrant indicates the start of the time that the town and citizen-sponsored warrant articles can be added to the warrant. The warrant is scheduled to close September 26th. So we did get a table of contents with possible articles in our board material. Would anybody have questions, or would you like to make a motion?
Up real quick. What, I wanted to look at the timeline too, just as a reminder when we're thinking about town meeting, but, what's after, so all warrant articles are due to you by the 26th?
So 2 weeks from tonight,
Okay.
the board will be reviewing what we have for warrant articles, so
Okay.
they'll go to the finance committee for their review. The big item on the warrant that we're aware of at this point is the funding of a portion of the replacement of the school roof that is being reimbursed at about 53%, if I remember correctly, by Mass School Building Association, but we've got to gross appropriate the total amount. I think one thing that I want, make sure the board's aware of is, I believe we have 90 days. It's either 60 and 90 days, and maybe Mr. Pike might remember this, I'm not sure, but there would have to be an election. This would be a debt override, a debt exclusion, excuse me, for this project that would require the town to hold a special election to get the votes they need to have this funding be authorized. So step one is town meeting, step two would be a special election. I've spoken to the assistant town clerk. She's trying to identify some timeline between the end of October and the end of January. So not ideal timeline, obviously with the holidays going on and whatnot, but there would have to be a special election. Beyond that, the other big issue that we have, frankly, at this point is we have a sidewalk tractor that is down again and is frankly cost prohibitive to fix. The cost is about $225,000. I've got some ideas on how I want to fund that, and I'll bring those back to the board in a couple of weeks, and I'll let you know long before that. Working with some different opportunities, knowing that we can't raise taxes, so there's some old warrant articles that may be able to be repurposed, that we're trying to just piece this together as best we can. The downside in doing that, frankly, is we've got to wait until October 28th to order the piece of equipment, and it takes, did you say 6 weeks to get the piece of equipment in? 3 weeks. So, could it snow in November, early November, or late October? It could, and we don't have the ability to plow sidewalks.
Everybody get out your shovel.
Yeah, everybody can rally together and shovel sidewalks, but this was something that was discussed during the capital planning discussions last year, and it was the recommendation that I brought forward to capital planning to defer this until fiscal '27 because of other priorities. So it was not something, and I just want to make sure that the board's clear, the capital planning committee did not deny funding this. It was trying to identify the priorities. It was trying to and after some discussions, we felt like we'll cross our fingers and hope that we get one more year out of the sidewalk tractor. Unfortunately, in the summertime with roadside mowing, things started to break that have become cost prohibitive to fix. So we have not done much roadside mowing this summer. We've checked it with the manufacturer. Can we rent the machine for a little while? What options are out there? There aren't. The vendors don't provide rental of this sort of machine with the attachments that we need to do the roadside mowing and then ultimately potentially the sidewalk plowing. So unfortunately, we took a chance and we failed. It didn't work out for us. So that's something I really think we need to look at considering at the fall town meeting as a priority.
All right, does somebody want to make a motion to open the warrant?
Yeah, and then there's an article missing that we need to talk about.
Okay.
I move Board of Selectmen open the 2025 special town meeting warrant at 8 a.m. on September 10th, 2025.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Yep,
Tomorrow.
right.
Yep.
Got it. I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And-
Finance committee talked about amending their bylaw to say something like 3 to 7 members. So it's just something we should.
Yeah, and
They're struggling because they only have 4 members, and that means the bylaw requires them to have 7. So if
Right.
one person can't come to the meeting, they don't have a quorum, they can't meet.
I think that, so the finance bylaw, I think, is gonna be discussed next week at the joint meeting
Yeah.
as well, because I frankly, I'd like to have the 3 groups discuss the timeline for the budget,
Sure.
because as important as it may be next spring, again, I understand the challenges the school departments have in trying to bring a budget forward before April, but if there's gonna be a potential override, I just don't know that April's a timeframe that's gonna be beneficial for us. So I'm hoping, and I've suggested to the superintendent of schools, and I think the Board of Selectmen saw the email today, I'm suggesting that the school committee, if they have a suggested timeline change, that they let us know what that is. We can discuss it at that meeting, and if it makes sense to everybody, we bring a bylaw change forward at town meeting this fall to change the timeline. Again, this isn't, there's no pride and authorship in that bylaw. We pushed it back a month, and it's really up to the Finance Committee and the Board of Selectmen about, how much time they want to have in reviewing, the school and town budgets. And we'll push it
I
back.
personally think that if you were to change the bylaw dates by very much, you'd be looking at possibly having to change the town meeting date.
Yep.
I agree, and but I think it'd be worthwhile, these tri-board meetings, in my humble opinion, should occur quarterly. I just think, as much as people don't want to be out of the house for another night, I think it'd be really helpful to have that line of communication. And, I'm hoping that the 3 boards can get together, have a good discussion about what the pros and cons are of making the changes, and then having all the town departments abide by those bylaw dates.
All right. Any other questions about the warrant?
No, that was the only thing. I just knew that Finance Committee was talking about their bylaw, so I
Yes.
didn't want to forget to bring that up.
All right, next item, acceptance of donation to the Council on Aging. Somebody
I
wanna make-
move the Board of Selectmen accept the $25 donation to the Council on Aging from Robert and Melody Casanari. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
And reappointment to the Agricultural Commission, Rui David Santos.
I move the Board of Selectmen reappoint Rui David Santos to the Agricultural Commission until June 30th of 2028.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and update on the status of establishing a Department of Public Works. So I have a little bit of an update. So we've talked about kicking this can down the road, right, to, with looking for a new TA, we kind of want to hold off. But one of the meetings that we had over the summer with the Sewer Commission and the Water Commission, I don't remember which meeting it was.
It was one of the public hearings.
Okay.
Yep.
And one of the members of the Sewer Commission had suggested, they were pushing back, saying, hey, can't we, try to work on communications and collaborations outside of creating a DPW? And she had mentioned, it was one of the sewer commissioners mentioned creating MOAs or MOUs to kind of help formalize the collaboration and process. So I started working on a draft of an MOU that could be between the Water Commission, Sewer Commission, Highway Department, Police Department, and Fire Department, so that, you have the road opening permits that you have, like, if gas company or anybody needs to do something with the roads, they come and notify the Highway Department. So it'd be the same thing with sewer and water. If they were gonna do any road work, any repairs or any kind of road work, that they would do the same thing, fill out a application with the Highway Department with various information in it, and then it would then go to the Police Department and the Fire Department. I'm just gonna
But
pull it
this
up.
is just an initial kind of
It's
brainstorm, right? You're not
just-
actually too far down the line, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
No, this is just real beginning.
So in case anyone watching is like, hey, I didn't hear about this, this is the
Yeah,
first
this is
time you're
just,
talking about this.
it is
right?
the first time that I'm
Okay.
talking about it. Thank you. So Police
Just
Department,
saving
no,
you from the
that's
why
good,
didn't you
right.
ask me,
Yeah, no,
conversation.
thank you. Good point.
This is Eric having a little brainstorm in front of everyone.
This is it. And nobody on this board has seen this either. So this is just me putting something together, a draft as an idea. It was the Sewer Commission that brought it up, and I thought, well, this isn't a
It was
bad
in
idea.
July, I think.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea, that They would submit a road work or excavation permit application, provide copies of the approved permit to the police and fire department to ensure public safety and emergency access and so on. The highway department would review and approve the applications and maintain a central record of all road work, and then provide guidance on detours, restoration requirements, coordinate scheduling with other town projects, which is important. Because that's one of the things that we wanted a DPW director to do, is to be able to help coordinate if there are two different projects, if water and sewer and highway all needed to do something, well, maybe we could save some money by using one company to do the paving or painting or whatever. The police department would then confirm traffic management and detour plans, providing support for traffic control. Fire department would review applications to ensure emergency vehicle access is maintained at all times, advise safety concerns, and coordinate emergency response planning where required. So it's just kind of formalizing, and it would be an agreement amongst the Water Commission, Sewer Commission, and the road commissioners, which is us, and then the superintendents, police chief, and fire chief. So it would be an agreement that would be a memorandum of understanding. I mean, it could be a bylaw, but it could also just be an MOU.
I like starting with the MOU. Let's see,
Right.
let's see how it goes.
And then potentially that way, then I feel like the sewer commission and water commissioners won't feel like we're stepping on toes, because they're still, doing what they do today. But one of the big goals of a DPW is to enhance cooperation and collaboration and just visibility into everything that was going on, primarily, from my point of view, the road work. So, I mean, there's other things, procurement.
You're doing great.
Yeah, I mean, there's procurement, there's things that.
He's on a roll.
Where we can save money on procurement, so there's things we could do that way in an MOU as well.
Is that potentially, can I ask just your thoughts on it? Is that potentially gonna add more time or work for Sean to have to process through things, or what's your thought?
We don't mind that.
I mean, I think ultimately the goal was to get all the departments working together.
I only say that because
So
Sean's sitting
if
right in
that
front of
can
me.
be, if that can be accomplished with an MOU instead of
Right.
the DPW, like, wow, great. I think ultimately the goal of getting everyone on the same page and coordinating is what we were going for.
Right.
So, how we get there, yeah.
MOU for sure.
But I think that's
I'm curious.
It is a good point, but I think what we have to do, and there's ways to do this even with like a document, electronic, SharePoint can go into a system, into a database, whatever, where it's tracking all this stuff. Certainly not trying to create more work for Sean, but trying to make it so that Sean knows what's going on, and so would be more proactive rather than reactive to things that the other departments don't know.
Right.
So my hope is that this would make the highway department's job a little bit easier.
Okay, sounds good.
But, already kind of ran something by him and the police chief, so I need to get Keith
So the
involved. This
MOUs
is literally just
No,
this
but the
afternoon.
MOUs would go before the water commissioners, the sewer commissioners, us, and then we would all execute that if everyone's on the same page.
Correct.
Love it.
Thank
Great.
you.
So that's it. That's the update on the DPW. Meeting minutes. We do have a couple here. Somebody want to make a motion?
I move the Board of Selectmen accept the open session meeting minutes of July 29th, 2025, 5:30 PM, and July 29th, 2025, 6 PM as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
TA report. Do you have anything, Keith?
Just a couple of quick things if I could. I'm catching Sean off guard, isn't all I'm asking this. I shut it off and I apologize. I didn't mean that. Sean, can you just take a second and just maybe take and let people know the roads that have been paved? Obviously, you've got a lot of kudos tonight from the people on Main Street, and again, I think you've tried to be as creative as you could to get that done, and what a significant improvement that is, so thank you for that as well. But, you're trying some additional methods to repave roads that should potentially last as long, but be less expensive, so I'm just wondering if you could just take 2 seconds. What are we paving? What's that reclaiming
The
thing?
Hutton Place.
And then
Yep.
what else are we doing? And what roads are we doing, just so people are aware of what's happening?
Yeah, so last week we finished Crescent Street, River Street. They just need to be line striped now, but those are completed. Today they finished the new Hutton Place recycling. which is, it saves a lot of money from grinding up the roads. What they do is they just reprocess what's there, add oils to it, roll it, it basically levels it. So now we get to come in 2 weeks and just put a top coat over it. So it eliminates grinding it, taking it away, leveling it, and topping it. So it's about half the cost of that. So they just finished that process today, so in 2 weeks, we'll take care of Grove Street. We also have Ring Road to do. That's gonna get ground down and repaved. And we have a section of Grove Street further down, and then we also have Elm Street. So we're gonna do Elm Street from Main down to Brook Street. So we still have that to complete. There's still 3 more roads to complete.
So I appreciate the fact that Sean has looked at different options to address the long list of roads that need to be upgraded and improved, and have taken some of the latest technology and implemented those after speaking to some communities that have done some of these new tasks.
Yeah, Pembroke and Halifax has used them for 2 years now.
So-
They're very happy with it.
Yeah, so it's been nice. Hopefully the public is seeing a difference. Certainly driving down Main Street's nice, right? And some of the other roads have been great as well. And the other two quick things, we had a resignation of the library. Holly Iannucci, who was our youth services librarian, children's librarian, has resigned. So we'll be advertising that position in the near future. I thought I had one more thing, but I didn't write it down, so I don't recall what it is, so I apologize. But happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Just one more meeting for you,
Maybe.
unless we bring you back as a
We'd like to
surprise
meet you.
guest
We'll
at
just have
our,
you Keep coming. We have an executive next week.
yeah, we should have, you should come to the fall town meeting as our special guest.
I'd be happy to. I can prop me up and throw rotten fruit at me. It's fine. Or a dunk tank or something.
Yeah,
I'll bounce the budget that way, right?
Okay.
it's not a bad idea.
No, listen, there are worse things that have happened.
Well,
so.
we could get the fire chief, the police chief.
I'm fairly confident if
A
those
dunking
guys, if
contest,
those guys
yeah.
were throwing, I'm going to stay fairly dry.
Jeez.
I've played golf with them. If you stand in the fairway, you're very safe.
All right, was there anything else? No. Maybe selectmen comment?
I was just going to mention that for a future agenda, we had talked about background checks and hiring process for department heads, so I don't know if we need to do a policy on that at some point.
Yeah, so I spoke to Missy about that last week, and working with HR director, police department, I got a better understanding about what Missy was looking for. So we'll bring that forward in 2 weeks, and I'll share it with Missy prior to make sure it's what she's looking for, and then we'll run it by legal and make sure they get their blessing, and we'll bring it forward and have the board adopt it.
Perfect, thank you. Thanks for doing that. And then, what else did we talk about? I thought there was something else, but I can't remember what it was. That's fine.
Quick, motion to adjourn.
Our next
No.
regular meeting is 2 weeks, September 23rd, 2025.
Do we have another executive right after this
We
anyway?
do have another executive
Okay.
right after this, so we need a
Hold on.
motion to,
We do not have that up. Hold on one second.
and I didn't either.
I will go back to the website. Sorry. Hold on a second. I just want to make sure I get the language right. I know. It is.
While you're looking for that, I wanted to say one more thing, if I could. The work that Kathleen Barrett is doing as our new finance director, and she's been here almost a year now, she's really, she gets stuck with a pile of backlog. She's been flogging through that, and I've been driving her crazy with this 5-year financial forecast. We hope to have that done later this week, get it out to everybody. But I just, again, since she's sitting here, still somewhat awake, just wanted to thank her for her efforts
It's riveting
as well.
stuff. I don't know what you mean.
It's wicked boring.
Okay. Thank you. So, oh, yeah, no, it's all, yeah. So move to adjourn open session, recess to executive session, not to return to open session for the purpose of discussing strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. High Pines Corporation versus Town of Kingston. Second. on that if we need it.
And we need a roll call vote.
Yep.
All those in favor, Eric, aye.
Tim, I.
Missy, I.
Cal Pike, aye.
And it is 8:20.
And we are adjourned. We've lost everybody online.